Reynolds here with the Luminous Minds Project, and welcome to Back to School. Ding! Classes in session. Welcome. If you are a teacher looking to understand neurodivergency and LD, ADHD, trauma, ACE, adverse childhood experience, and wanting to know more, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here and that you're taking education into your hands and doing your continued learning. To me, that's a fierce and radical educator. So welcome. If you're from the judicial system wanting to learn more about neurodivergency and to see things from our way of thinking, you are also really welcome here. I just want to let you guys know, and for those that are in the medical professional and mental health industry, thank you so much for taking the initiative to learn about our way of thinking. But I first want to say that the space that we're creating is for neurodivergence and those with ACE, adverse childhood experience. And they will always get priority over someone that is neurotypical due to the fact that we don't have very many spaces, if at all, that are not institutionalized or nonprofit. So it's really important that we have our own space to have conversations and feel safe in. So as we are used as an educational tool for you and your professional advancement, this is actually for our life and our survival. So please do be mindful when you come to these spaces asking for certain things. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to go search for answers for you in a timely manner and within order that it is received. So again, thank you for being here. I'm really glad that you are here. And thank you to the parents that are looking for answers for their kid. Maybe they were just diagnosed or have been in this game for a really long time, banging your head against the wall, trying to look for solutions and an easier way for your child to just be themselves, right? And hopefully at Luminous Minds Project, we'll be creating a lot more systems for your kids and your youth to come and interact and learn more things about themselves and the world and the context in which they live in, right? So they're not internalizing all of this shame from ableism and things and the stigma that is put on your kid that was developed years ago. I mean, talking about century old, the beginning of time old, that the messaging and the collective consciousness of our psyche has not been upgraded. We'll upgrade our phones and our technology before we ever think to update our thoughts and our mind. And right now, our brains need a big upgrade. And I think we're all getting schooled right now in social literacy and cultural literacy and understanding about other communities and the wounds and the traumas that they've been carrying generationally since the beginning of time, like America. Really, that it's really important to know the context in which we live in and to really understand the history that it comes with. That once you understand the history and the context and the construct of our society, everything makes a lot more sense and your consciousness, bing, becomes to awaken and your eyes begin to open and the veil begins to lift, right? You kind of hear, especially activists talk about waking up. Wake up. What does that mean? It means to have a level of consciousness. And what is consciousness? Consciousness is awareness, just being aware of something outside of yourself or out of your routine and pattern of thinking, right? Just stopping for a second, looking around and being like, I wonder why the Black community is always talking about injustice, right? Let's go look and investigate, right? And that's what Luminous Minds Project has done, because neurodivergency, learning disabilities, ADHD is in every community. Whether they want us there or not, that's a totally different conversation, but we are there. And there's reasons why we get pushed out of community. Community is the solution to injustice, but if injustices are happening within community, then where do those that are getting pushed out go? And that's usually in the arms of the streets or a predator. And this is why the cycle of trauma and incarceration is continually happening. So until we actually get to the root cause of the stigma and the labeling and the conditioned thinking and the continual cultural loading of the messaging, we're never going to get past it. We can keep passing laws and legislation and policies, but if we don't get past our behavior and our messaging and the way we treat those that think differently, we're going to continually have these issues of over-incarceration of our youth in juvenile detention and prisons, and the high rates of homelessness, suicide, and those in mental institutions. A lot of organizations that are LD-ADHD are really they're really looking to the positive side of things and showing all the different strategies and tools and techniques that you can use to help your child assimilate into mainstream culture. That's not what we're doing here at Luminous Minds Project. What we're doing here at Luminous Minds Project is looking at your youth and looking at you as the adult who's coming here and watching these videos. And we're looking at and asking you, who are you, right? That knowledge is power, but self-knowledge is real powerful. That who's running this show right here? Is it the education system? Is it the medical industrialized complex? Is it academic, higher universities, higher institutions? Yeah, so we look at all of these modalities that we're constantly in. Once you get diagnosed and you went below the bell curve, so to speak, you'll be diagnosed and sent to the doctors who gives you a medication. You go through that system and go to see counselors and therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists, and then you get new information from higher academia that is fact bombing your brain with new stats and data and analysis around your way of learning and thinking. And so you're applying these to your life and then inquiring other injuries through it due to lack of cultural literacy and lack of understanding around neurodivergency and a lack of understanding around artistic thinking and creative minds, right? That at Luminous Minds Project, we look at the modalities that we are trapped in, oftentimes, right? And we end up becoming profit for a lot of these guys, profit for those in higher academia, scholars, academics, professors that get credit off of finding new techniques for those with neurodivergency, as well as we're profit for therapists, psychiatrists, and psychologists, as well as the pharmaceutical companies also get profit off of us. Also, healers that love to come and tinker with our energy field and call us demonic for having mental illness. There's just a lot of things to discuss and talk about. That it's really important to know the systems that we're going through and who's profiting off of us, right? For our wounds and for our traumas and for our differences. And so at Luminous Minds Project, we really look at things from a really holistic place, taking in institutional ideas, and we say thank you respectfully. Thank you for doing that work, really. Thank you for doing the research and the data entry and looking for the statistics and understanding who we are in the world. Thank you. And thank you for the teachers that really bang their head against the wall trying to learn how we learn. And thank you for the parents and the parole officers and the aunties and the sponsors and the mentors. And we just say thanks for all those guys. You know, they've done a lot of hard work for us, trying to get us assimilated into mainstream culture. And now we turn to another way of thinking and another way of being that is one that comes more natural to our way of thinking, which is art, culture, spirituality, and knowing the mind and psychology, and using those modalities. And this is what we work through in Luminous Minds Project, is going through these, because really, there is a life behind the label. That I am more than just my acronym, and I am more than my diagnosis or my disorder or my disability, whichever pathology that you're looking at. So if you're looking at this pathology that says if you are not neurotypical and do not measure at this state, then you are deemed disordered or disabled. But there is also another pathology that neurodivergents go by, is the fact that there's really nothing wrong with me in my mind. There's everything wrong with how we are researched, right? So pathology in this way is that we are just wired differently, that we do serve a purpose for society, that back centuries ago, we were the healers and the oracles and the priests and the herbalists, right? That that kings and queens used to come and get guidance from, that we are the artists that navigate these systems. We're the ones that are down below talking to the peasants, understanding like, what is this new virus? There's a plague, and going up to the kings and queens and being like, there's this thing that's happening in a community that you might want to pay attention to, that there was no class system for the artist. The artist, out of all the class system and the hierarchy, we were made to be able to navigate through that, to give representation to every person in the hierarchy. That's the role of the artist in society. And we've moved really far away from that for a reason. And we will discuss all that down in another video. But right now I want to talk about the systems and the modules that we work from. That we have gifts and talents that are not being taught or developed. That our wheelhouse really is the heart. We're humanists. And our medicine is that social awareness, knowing, and that social consciousness and emotional intelligence. That there's multiple intelligences. There's not just one that white supremacy wants you to think that there is, but there's multiple intelligences happening. I think there's about 11 different intelligences. And we will be talking to specialists that have PhDs in knowing about multiple intelligences that are pro and neurodiverse. So we'll be talking to a lot of folks with different ways of thinking about intelligence. Excuse me. I've been drinking a Sprite as I'm going. So really, our wheelhouse is in our heart, and energetically, we're really in tune. I've talked to a lot of educators that are in conflict with neurodivergence in special education, and it's a battleground in a lot of classes due to the fact that we are so energetically charged and emotionally sensitive and socially astute is a good word for that. No, we might not have the language at a young age to say what it is that we're feeling, but we're definitely feeling something that the neurotypical is trying to train out of us, saying, feeling your feelings makes you weak and it clouds logic. And we're going, no, that's not true. It actually doesn't cloud logic because there's a whole lot going on here that you're not paying attention to. And the neurotypical teacher is going, but you need to sit down, Joey. You need to sit down in your chair and you need to be still and you need to do your work. Because this is what intelligence looks like. But there's multiple ways of doing work, and there's multiple ways of learning, and there's multiple ways of how to express and show up socially for other people. And we're just not being taught that in our education. And it's time to stop banging our head against the wall, asking the education system for more advancement, because it's a dinosaur. The education system is a dinosaur, and we all know it. But it's time to take school outside of the school and start doing community-based learning so we can start developing ourselves socially, emotionally, and artistically, becoming more socially responsible for other communities, becoming emotionally intelligent, being able to know how to have emotional intimacy with a stranger and have a conversation and not be scared, and knowing how to artistically express yourself and using creativity within your work and your life, right? Thinking differently and creatively and just taking that risk without worrying about what someone's thinking about you, or that worry that someone's going to reject you or humiliate you. because that can be crippling when you're trying to make a life change or take an emotional risk with somebody, and you have this fear that you're going to be made fun of or pushed out of community if you take an emotional risk. All this stuff has been with us for centuries, and it's been built into us as the world and society has been building, right? That the human mind is so complex and amazing. And the new dialogue and the conversation around epigenetics and how epigenetics transform from or transfer from relative to relative to relative, and within you, like you're carrying your ancestors DNA, you're carrying their mind and their psyche and their subconscious with you as well. So we're talking century old messaging that is within our body and within our mind that we absolutely can start changing now, right? That all these modalities over here, we say thank you so much for everything that you have given us. But we look over here, we look to art, we look to spirituality, we look to culture and psychology to really understand how can we change the narrative of what we've been inheriting. How do we change the generational karma, right? Because we look at things through a Buddhist lens here at Luminous Minds Project. It is the foundation of everything that we do. I've been a Nichiren Daishonin Buddhist for 16 years, and it has radically changed my life and changed my lens and how I look at the world, and realize I look at the world so differently because I was trained as a Buddhist from a very early age at 23 years old. And it's really informed me around my mind and how it works, and understanding the difference between learning and consciousness. That you can have a PhD and still be unconscious. You can have a PhD and still be socially, emotionally underdeveloped. But with Buddhism, what it asks and talks about is developing the human spirit to be able to endure and to polish your life condition so you can overcome any obstacle within your life, right? That everyone here on planet Earth is a Buddha, which means everyone has the ability to become enlightened, to awaken. Enlightenment just means the awakened one, right? Or the Buddha means the awakened one. And enlightenment is coming to reality, seeing the ultimate truth of reality without all the bells and whistles of society and what man has created, but ultimately how does the universe work and the law of the universe work within the lives of human beings on planet Earth. So we really look at the context of reality and compare it to the context of society. And that really informs you as to what's happening here in our society today. That Buddhism really teaches and trains you to think about yourself and your environment and how those two interrelate. And how those two interrelate is how you show up for other people. And how do we show up for other people, especially in times like right now that are really difficult, and it's really hard to have hard conversations. Like even having this conversation online, scared of the ramifications that I just said something wrong around race, or I just overspoke about racism, or I can't speak as a white person about racism or ableism because I'm scared I'm going to get pummeled and humiliated online. That is also programmed in us from centuries ago. It's our hardware and how to keep people silenced. And it's how I've been silenced for a very, very long time. Being an English immigrant, born in London, England, my family heritage is very English. We're rooted in England and the UK. So that cultural loading is real deep in my DNA. And I've had to do a lot of healing work, a lot of restorative work to recover my voice, Jody Knowles in 2019, my voice of who I am, and change that generational karma that I inherited from my parents' parents and their parents' parents that has been going through my bloodline for a really long time. That we can all say, nope, this stops here, right? It stops here. that I don't have to continue the narrative around racism in my life, in my children's life, and their children's life. That I don't have to give a really broken planet to the next generation. That while I'm here, I can do my best to make it better. And that is everything that I've learned in Buddhism for the last 16 years. And I'm really excited to bring forth my mentors' work around human revolution, right? And human revolution was really a phrase that my other mentor, Josie Toda, came up with for personal transformation. That humanism, or not humanism, but human revolution is the process of going within and unpacking and dismantling your own generational karma and your inherited karma from your family and all the causes that we've made in this lifetime, right? Is that human revolution, we get to go and unpack and look at it. Maybe you have family addictions that run in the family. Maybe you have family silences or other things that happen in your family that you want to dismantle and not carry on for the next generation. That's possible, and that's possible now. And that human revolution, as Daisaku Ikeda says, is the foundation for every revolution, whether it be for equity, whether it be for arts education, whether it be for economic justice, whether it be for any other revolution. The foundation of any revolution is human revolution. Because let me tell you, I've been in this game a long time trying to find organizations to align myself with. And all the organizations that have causes that want movement have movement for probably about good 3 to 5 years, and then they dismantle due to human nature and cultural loading and human ego, right? The human experience is real, and Luminous and Buddhism talks all about that, right? That in order to really have movement in any kind of revolution, you should have human revolution be the foundation of that. That you are committed to doing your own introspection and doing your own work internally so you can really awaken and become conscious as the truth of reality, not what our minds have diluted, right? Which creates an illusion that you see out. What we think, we create in our reality. We'll be talking all about that. So it's really about changing that thought system, changing that mind around what we think about learning differences and ADHD, what we have been told in school, what we have been seeing in school, that it gets trapped in people's psyche. And we will talk a lot about that in many, many more videos, because we have got to talk about the brain and how it functions, right? And I can't believe we don't get taught this in school, but it's really important to know the function of your brain so you know yourself, right? Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. All of this over here is knowledge, but self-knowledge over here is real powerful. Knowing yourself within the context of reality, of this reality in 2019, in the context of society as what it is today. So I hope that you got something from that, and that maybe it opened your eyes to something, a new way of looking at something, changed your mind about neurodivergency, or got you even more curious to know more. This video is just an overview as some of the topics that we'll talk about. I didn't get to talk about trauma-informed care and culture and why that's really important as we move forward, but maybe that will be my next video. If you have questions, please feel free to email me at luminousmindsproject@gmail.com. The link is below. You can also check out our services that we offer. I currently am doing coaching sessions for the fall. We will be having workshops. I'll be making that announcement soon. And we will be posting more videos online weekly, hopefully doing it on Mondays that we post videos for you, for your advancement, your evolution, understanding your mind and the way it works, and understanding neurodivergency and where we work, right? So I just ask that you keep an open mind and always stay curious. Peace.